start recording this. Okay, hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to BWIF fourth annual festival. This is our panel discussion today. We are so excited to have everyone here. You're going to get a chance to meet these awesome creators. We definitely have some of our BWIF members in the building. So let's go ahead and get started. So if you have not heard about BWIF, we've been in existence for going on 6 years, since 2017. We are an all-female writers group and film production company. So we're state recognized in Texas, and we're also an award-winning organization. And so we've been having fun. And our festival, this is our fourth year of having a film festival. So we just want to make sure that where we come from and all the individuals, the ladies on the team, we feel that we didn't have platforms like this one. And so we are so excited to present this platform because it helps us give the filmmakers and the creatives an opportunity to broadcast their work, to show their work. So we're happy that you guys are here. I am so excited today. I want to just acknowledge some of the BWIF, which is Sharon Jenkins and Tanya Washington. Thank you guys for being with us on today. We definitely want to thank our winners and our filmmakers and our writers that are here. So we're just going to say creatives, and I know you guys see Jamar in the building, a young man in the building. But as I wanted to state that this is not anyone can submit a film, whether it be male or female, but the female must take on a dominant role. Okay, you guys hear me out there, men? That's what I said. So you guys can submit your film, but the female must be in a predominant role. So we're going to get started. I'm going to introduce you guys to our host. I am Joan Montreal. I've been in the arts and entertainment for 26 years. Lamarcus is actually my business partner. He's my son. He's my everything. So I go to him for everything, guys. And he's actually a board member. He's a board member on BWIF because listen, you guys need a male around. We need male companionship. So we're excited to have him. You guys may know him from Glee, Friday Night Lights, Cougar Town, Down by the River, Walk by Faith. It's a host of things, and he's still directing. He's still in the movie business, and he's doing so much. I can't name it all, guys. So if he chooses to tell you guys, he can go ahead and let us know what he's been up to. But y'all, I want to introduce to you guys Lamarcus Tinker. Yay! All right, take over, Lamarcus.
All right, well, after that introduction, I mean, what more can you say? Thank you, Joan. As always, it's a pleasure to be here with BWIF. I've been a huge supporter for the last 6 years. I remember when Joan first started this amazing organization, and all the women, I mean, 50, 60, hundreds of women that have come through this program have gone on to do great things. Hey, Miss Sharon. Hello, Tania. Hello, Monet. And Jamar, they let us come play in the play box, my man. They let us come. So we're gonna try to behave ourselves, Jamar.
We're gonna try.
We're gonna try. But I want to welcome you all to the fourth annual BWF Festival. I'm not sure if any of you all were able to check out some of the previous festivals, and this is going to be a little different. This is going to be more of a discussion, more of a question Q&A to kind of get into all of you creatives' heads, spaces, and what made you create the films you created, what was the story about them, what was the struggles, and then tangible things that we can provide to other filmmakers that are coming up in the industry or ones that are already in industry that may be facing problems that you faced and giving them solutions to them. So I'm excited to get into it. And with that being said, let's just go for it. Miss Monet, I heard you earlier. You said you're originally from Maryland, but you're currently living in Los Angeles. So I want to dive deep into your project and what made you submit it and create it. So I'll give the floor over to you. Tell us a little bit about your project.
Oh, okay. Well, this project, I just recently completed a directing fellowship with women of color filmmakers. So this was the result of that fellowship. And our only requirements were that we had to make a film based off of the word infinite. And so this film was my interpretation of that word.
Awesome. Awesome. Now tell us a little bit about how did you go about, you know, we have a great idea, right? We have a film, we have an idea. How did you go about facilitating the crew and things of that nature to get your film done?
Oh my gosh. Well, that was a labor of love. I can honestly say producing is my least favorite thing about filmmaking.
Okay.
And I can't wait to have the money to like have a producer because that was honestly the most stressful part of this whole entire thing. But actually, a lot of my crew members volunteered their time. Um,
Awesome.
I found originally my DP, I went on Mandy.com and I did a general search and I came across her profile. Her name is Eno Yang Popper. And we had some exchanges, but we had miscommunication about pay. So then I kind of like forgot about her. And then I went to the AFI website. This is a tip for people that need to find really qualified DPs. If you're going to provide pay, you can go to that website and say that you have a project, and you'll get a whole bunch of submissions. Eno submitted again to my project, so we ended up meeting, and then what she wanted, I wasn't able to provide, and again, I let her step out of my life again. And after
Wow. Okay.
my mentor, she's like, give her a number. Like, don't just give up. So that's another tip for filmmakers is like negotiate what you can do. So I said, this is the amount that I have. Can you do it? Yes or no? And she was like, yes, I'll do it. And then she went and sourced like majority of the crew. They just
Wow.
volunteer on each other's projects until they can make it to wherever they're trying to make it to. So ended up kind of working out.
I think that's amazing. I mean, you said a lot there, right? A lot of the experiences that a lot of filmmakers go through when they're making a film. And I think one of the greatest things you said is communication, not giving up, negotiating, right? Telling people what you can do and see if they're willing to work with you. And it was very obvious that she kept coming back. So there was a want to do this film. There was a purpose that she had in mind that really wanted her to connect with you. And the fact that you were open to that, I think, is amazing. But you also kind of gave us some tools to kind of utilize. You said AFI Network for DPs. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so the American Film Institute, it's like one of the best film programs in Los Angeles. So I
Mm-hmm.
highly, highly recommend even those just starting out, like all of their DPs are fantastic. So you can email them. I don't recall the exact email, but just Google AFI job board and you can make a submission and then you'll get people who want to like that are just starting out and that want to work on projects for a lower amount.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So, everyone, please check that out American Film Institute network there in Los Angeles. So, tell us about Infinite. It's a very unique name. So, tell us a little bit about what the film entails.
Okay, so it's the film is called The Outside, um, but it was based off of the word infinite. So I'll just give the log line without because I don't want to like people haven't seen the films yet. So, um, so when a psych patient discovers that her stay at a mental hospital must come to an end, she does everything possible to avoid the outside. So she's actually, unlike most people, she's not trying to leave the asylum. She wants to stay inside for her own personal reasons.
Wow, that's very unique. I don't think I've ever seen a film like that. So I think that's amazing. That's very creative. And tell me about raising the money for your project. How did you go about doing that? I know you said you did the director fellowship. Was that an organization that gave you a set amount of money, or did you have to finance the whole thing?
No, I financed the whole thing. I did not do Kickstarter. I just have a thing about asking people for money. Hopefully, I'll grow out of that as I continue to make films. But I just happen to have, this amount set to the side. Because like I don't have kids or anything. So like
Hmm.
I don't have a lot of expenses. So I was able to save this amount of money. But all of the women, we were like shocked at how much money we were spending. Like it was just
Yes.
like ballooning out of control. Like what I intended, I think I spent double that amount. So there's
Wow.
a tip for people that want to make your own films, whatever you're budgeting for. I would just say budget for double that amount.
I think that's very wise. We've all faced that as filmmakers and creatives in our own way. I know in specific with Jamar, we worked together on a project that we're going to discuss here in a little bit. And me and Joan, many years, and I know Miss Sharon has done a lot, and Tania, yourself as well, where you budget and you think this number is it, and you think you're going to be able to get everything, but you don't budget for the last minute things that come up, right? You don't budget for those things that just come up out of nowhere, and that's a very wise thing to say. But also, another thing is get a great line producer, get a great numbers person that can handle your budget, that has the experience to allocate, to try to keep you under budget as much as possible. But you definitely want to have at least 10 to 20% contingency for those things that you just don't plan for. So that your film is not affected. And I think that's really amazing, Monette, that you were able to create a great project that hopefully we all will get to see eventually. It sounds very unique. And now you talked about it being about a psych patient. Talk to me about locations. Were you able to get an actual psych hospital? What did you all do to create this world?
So no, we were not able to get a psych hospital,
Okay.
and honestly, the locations was probably the most difficult part for me.
Okay.
Because my DP did say I'm going to volunteer my time, I told her I know this is a 3-day shoot. And she was like, no, we're going to get this done in 2 days. And, because I have my crew volunteering. So, like, I don't want to ask them to go past the 3 days. So, like, that was one issue. So, the logistics of trying to figure out, okay, if we're doing this in 2 days, we need locations that are close together. And I was trying to look for everything separate. I wanted like a white room, I wanted a hospital, I wanted the doctor's office, outside. Like it was just like all of these things. So all of our indoor locations, I ended up shooting at a standing room, black owned standing room set called Four Heart
Awesome.
Studios. They're in California, so shout out to them. And they pretty much had everything. They had the hospital, they had the office, the psych. That's the magic of a really excellent DP. Like, she was able to work her lighting magic and all that stuff. So, there were some things that I had to compromise on, shots that I had originally intended I wasn't able to do just because of space. It was a very small location. So yeah, just that's another tip, be prepared to compromise if you can't get what you want. But that's where a really excellent DP can help you to execute that vision.
Absolutely. I think that's amazing. A huge word you said was compromise. And I think as creatives, sometimes we don't want to compromise, right? We're
Right.
like, we see it the way we see it, and that's the way we want it. But then it comes down to, well, can you financially get there, right? Do you have the right people on your team that are creative enough to accomplish that goal? So I love the fact that you and got that experience and learned how to compromise in that. And again, shout out to Four Heart Studio in Los Angeles, right, Miss Monet?
Mhm.
It's a black-owned business, so we definitely want to shout them out and give them some love. So all of the filmmakers that are watching, please go utilize Four Heart Studio. We definitely want to support you and send people your way. So Miss Monet, before we move on, I just want to ask you, with this film, as filmmakers and as creatives, we always try to draw from our own personal experience.
Mhm.
What elements of this film are familiar to you, whether it be for yourself, whether it be for your loved ones, friends? What are some elements that you pulled from your real life to put into this film?
Um, so I'm really passionate about freedom and transformation. And I find that a lot of people are not able, they have a hard time like moving on or trying new and different things because one, they may think that they don't deserve it, or they think that because of mistakes they've made in their past, that they should not be able to have happiness in their life. And so this theme, this film kind of had like a dual meaning in it.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to, that by the end of the film, people know that they have permission to move forward and do something new, even if it's scary, even if it feels scary to them, because they deserve to have, happiness in their life.
I think that is incredible. Granting people permission to move forward. It's
Yeah.
okay to move forward with your life despite the things you've been through. It's okay. You don't have to sit and suffer in it because you're embarrassed, because you're afraid of what people are going to say, because you're in a turmoil. It's okay to move on and have a better life. So I think that's incredible. I look forward to seeing your film, The Outside. Tell us, Miss Monet, when is it coming out? Where can we watch it?
Well, right now I have it unlisted because I'm doing film festival run
Okay.
submissions. So I have it unlisted. But just follow me at I guess I'm gonna have to spell this out. You guys are gonna have to put up something on the screen.
Okay.
Monet Ravenel is my Instagram, so that's kind of long. But yeah, just follow me online, and yeah, I'll keep you posted on if I end up distributing it anywhere.
Awesome, awesome. Well, congratulations, Miss Monet, on your film and all your success. I'm really excited to see what comes of it. And it sounds, is this a feature or a short film, Miss Monet?
This is a short film.
Okay, hopefully it'll turn into a feature as well. And
Yes,
get the
and then
traction, the success
hopefully.
at the film festivals, and you'll better get the funding to make it a feature film. That would be amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
Absolutely, you're so welcome. All right, I'm coming on up to Miss Tania, the lady in red with the red lips. I'm coming on up to you to talk with you. Hello, Miss Tania. How are you?
Tanya.
Miss
Hi,
Tanya, I'm
how are
sorry.
you?
Tanya.
It's
Miss
no
Tanya,
problem.
please forgive me. I am reading these names on a very small screen. So, Miss Tanya, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you, sir?
I am doing good, Miss Tanya. Welcome to the Brilliant and William Film Annual Film Festival panel discussion. Talk to us, Miss Tanya, about where you're from and tell us a little bit about your film.
Okay, well, I'm from Morgan City, Louisiana. Originally from the New Orleans area. That's actually how I know Joan. And I am actually new to BWIF. Um, Not a filmmaker as of yet. However, I am a creative, definitely. And I've had the pleasure of supporting BWIF from the beginning. I think I've consulted on a couple of movies that were in the beginning. Um, and I've also done some location scouting. In fact, I had the pleasure of location scouting for our upcoming film fest, which is a pleasure. But my experience is particularly in the area of theater. I act, I sing, I dance. I've had the opportunity to assistant direct, manage the stage. So I'm very excited about seeing how what I know already can translate into film, and I'm excited about learning from my sisters in BWIF and brothers. I don't want to exclude anybody. But so I am not participating in the film festival as a filmmaker, but I am participating as a Brilliant Women in Film, and I'm a supportive of everything that we're doing, and I'm super excited, especially about New Orleans and all that we're going to see, especially all the films. So that's my spiel.
All right. Well, hey, I love it. I love it. I love how you said you are creative. And one of the things that I always talk to filmmakers about and actors and everyone is I think everyone should start in theater. Everyone should start on the stage because it builds so much character, resilience. It's everybody hands on deck. Everybody's got to do their part. There is no cut. You got to go forward. You can't, say, oh, I've dropped my line. It teaches so much about teamwork. So I do want to dive a little bit into your background there because I think it's really, really important for filmmakers to hear about the stage in theater because a lot of actors come from theater. A lot of actors starred in high school and elementary and middle school in theater, right? And how does that translate to filmmaking? And it's really it's different in the sense of you're not on the stage and it's not live and people aren't watching you, but it's also very similar in a lot of ways too. So let's dive a little bit into your creative side, if you don't mind. So talk to us a little bit about some of the productions that you've done in theater, and what has your experience been like with getting those productions to the stage? Because it's very similar to what Miss Monet was saying about getting this idea, this concept to paper, and then from paper to set, then for, figuring out locations and things like that. So walk us through kind of what your journey is getting a project to the stage.
Okay, I've had a long history of community theater. I've been in several of Joan's plays in her beginning before she entered into film as well. I've participated in the theater in my community. Just recently, we won an award as it's called The Quarters, is the actual title of the play. But I've also participated in the Glass Menagerie, and it's so different. I've also had the experience of being a talented theater evaluation coordinator. So I'm getting to see young people develop their creative side and how it translates into becoming an actual person who participates as an adolescent, an adult, a young adult, and an adult. And it's so different because you can come up with a vision, you can practice it over and over, but once you hit that stage and you have the interaction of the crowd, you have the mishaps that happen behind stage, anything can go wrong with your lighting or with your sound. You have to be able to improvise. You have to be flexible, just as Monet discussed. You can have a vision and you want to stick as closely to your vision as possible, but you have to learn how to really be creative on the spot and how to dig deep to bring forth the vision that you're trying to portray through whatever you're doing. So whatever character you're in or whatever the whole premise of the play is that you're in, that you want to try to dig deep to bring that forward. That digging deep might be in your past experiences. It may be trying to ignore something that's going on around you because you have to focus and bring this character forward. It may be overcoming something as far as your lighting or your sound, but you have to dig deep all the way around. So I know, like you say, in film, you can cut and you can do it again and again until you get it right. But when you're on that stage, you have to be on and you have to have everything's firing from all directions. So it's really exciting.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what I was alluding to. Kind of that in the moment, right? In the moment, you have to be present. You have to be intentional. And I am so glad you mentioned that, because that's why I wanted to tie it back into filmmaking. You said something that's true, but a lot of times it's not always the case where you can take multiple takes. Sometimes you have to be on a time schedule and you do not have the ability to sit up and do take after take after take, because the longer you take, you're rushing against sun, you're rushing against, different location times that you may have rented or allocated if you're not working in a studio space. You're also working against budget constraints that can prevent you from shooting the rest of the day, because now you're going over time and you've got people who, like in Miss Monet, they were volunteering, but I'm sure she had a limited mind of how far to take that before you start taking advantage of people. So tying that into what you just articulated about teaching those students the ability to improvise and just be present and dig deep, that's required for filmmakers as well. So these are lessons that's why I encourage people to start in theater, because you learn how, when things are not going a certain way, how to make do with what you have, how to find the greatness in the chaos. That's something that, you learn through theater, that you build up your background to be able to tackle filmmaking. So I think that's amazing. And you talked about working with young people. And I know with Brilliant Women in Film, there's women of all ages that participate in Brilliant Women in Film. But I want to focus really quickly on the young people portion of it, because these are the young people who want to go where Monet is. They want to go to Los Angeles. They want to be with the lights in the big city, and they feel like they can go and make it in Los Angeles. What are some of the things that you talk to them about to prepare them, not just from a talent perspective, Because going to Los Angeles is not just about your talent, it's about your mental capacity and your emotional maturity to deal with that world out there, because it's a jungle. It may look all glamorous and it may look all beautiful, but if you hit Hollywood Boulevard and you go to the Walk of Fame on a random day, it's not all clean and pretty, right? And so it's not what the camera showed. So how do you talk to them about the mental and emotional preparation for trying to make that jump from, say, Louisiana, or say a Texas, or say down south, all the way to the West Coast for Los Angeles?
Actually, coming across young people, having to talk to them, it's so inspirational because they look at the fun of it. You know, they're young. They look at, oh, I see it on the screen, I want to be it, or I see people doing it at school, I want to do it. But it takes a lot of preparation. It takes a lot of discipline. And so I talk to them from that perspective. It takes a lot of character. Sometimes you don't feel like practicing your lines. Sometimes you don't feel like, going to rehearsal. Sometimes you don't feel like doing the things that it takes to make a break production come to life. And I've seen it happen. Unfortunately, we have students come in for evaluation. We have our state evaluators there, and they're not prepared. And that just comes, I've had parents to come in and try to plead on the behalf of their kids and say this or that. But when it comes down to it, it's more than the passion, it's more than the talent. It takes the hard work and the discipline along with your creativity that's going to, get you where you need to go. And then those values that you get from your parents, you got to stick to those. You can't just lose that because you're going abroad or you're going away. You're not there anymore with them. So I'm not going to remember what they told me. You remember those core values and stick to those things in order to succeed in theater and anything in life. So I try to stress that to them, especially when I see the situations where it doesn't happen for them. Don't give up, be disciplined. You want this, you can do it. You have the talent, but you got to put what goes with talent to make it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Ms. Tony. I think you hit the nail right on the head. And that's what I wanted to get to for the understanding of all the young people or young filmmakers that are watching right now. You have to have discipline. You can have all the skill in the world, but when Miss Monet is casting or looking for a crew, she's not going to select you for a film because she's going to see you have talent, but you don't have the discipline. And when you're running on a budget, whether it's an independent film or a multi-million-dollar film, they want people that are disciplined. They want to be able to trust you with the investment that they're making in you, because this is a team project. And if one person isn't disciplined, that can rub off on another person. And that's the things that can create problems for a set or stage play. It doesn't matter. So I think that's amazing, Ms. Tanya, that you highlighted that for our young people. So Ms. Tanya, tell us about one of the theater companies that you work with in Louisiana. What is the name of one of the theater companies you've done the most work for, so that we can give them a shout out and acknowledge them as well?
Okay, I have the pleasure of working with the Tesh Theater in Franklin, Louisiana. And it's a wonderful small company, but doing some amazing things. Actually, we're going to be having Fences that's coming up in the next month or so. So that's really excited. They're reprising the roles. It was done some years ago. They do a lot of productions, a lot of community outreach as well, a lot of going into the schools. So it's so exciting to be a part of the Tesh Theater in Franklin, Louisiana.
Awesome. So let's give a shout out to the Touch Franklin Theater in Louisiana. We want to give you your flowers as well, and acknowledge you for the hard work you're doing in the communities to help bring up our youth. A lot of the art programs are going away in schools, as we all know as filmmakers, and that's unfortunately affecting a lot of our communities, a lot of communities of color. Myself, I grew up in a school where there was the arts, which is why I'm able to be here today and have the success that I had. So we definitely want to shout out that theater company there. And we're really, really excited to see all of the work that Ms. Tanya is going to be doing in the future with them. Ms. Tanya, is there a website? Do you have a website or anything where we can come or we can follow you on Instagram so we can support you in all your work in the youth?
Well, you can reach me at Tanya C. Washington on all platforms. That's Instagram, that's Facebook, TikTok. Tanya C. Washington. You want to check out what I'm doing?
All right, Miss Tanya. You have a TikTok, Miss Tanya?
I sure do. You got to stay up with the info.
Yes, you do. That's awesome, Miss Tanya. We're excited. Thank you for being here. Again, thank you so much for contributing your wisdom, your knowledge, and your experience from the theater world, which again directly ties to the filmmaking world. So I'm going to come on over to a lady that I've known for many years through BWIF, Miss Sharon, the multi-hyphenate. I mean, I don't even know, Miss Sharon, author, speaker, you name it, you do it, Miss Sharon. Welcome to BWF, Miss Sharon. How are you today?
I am doing fabulous, fabulous. And thank you. We met a long time ago. Actually, I met you and Joan at the same time at a workshop, and my life has not been the same.
That is awesome. And we feel the same way about you, Miss Sharon. So, Miss Sharon, tell us a little bit about the work that you've done, whether it be with one of the films here in the festival or just with BWF overall. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and what you've contributed to BWF all these years.
Well, I've been on the writing side of the house. I am known as the literary midwife. I help people birth books, and actually, BWIF, our wonderful film crew came and did a documentary. I wrote a mini doc on how to birth your book baby. So we had some fun doing that. And then I started out as a poet, and then I got the acting bug. I took some acting classes, and I have to tell this story, and I promise to be brief. uh, I was invited to talk about my poetry. I'm thinking we're going to sit around in a circle back in the 90s and click our fingers, like that Greenwich Village thing. Baby, this girl was a maniac. She literally wanted us to perform our work. And I was like, I didn't sign up for all this. Well, just so happened, there was a beautiful young lady there that says, well, I take acting classes and I'd like to invite you to go. So I went and I met this phenomenal woman, Alma Parks. Do your research. She just looked at me. I was sitting on the sidelines. I said, oh, I'm just waiting for Lorna. And she said, no, baby, when you come into this place, you act. And that was it. I love being center stage, and the bug bit me. So I went from poet to doing spoken word, from spoken word to being a playwright. And I wrote 2 plays, and I produced and directed them myself, which I kind of agree with Monet. When you put your hand on the steering wheel and it's go, you have to go no matter whether there's rocks in the roads or what have you. And I learned a lot from doing the 2 productions, one called The Cafe of Hope that dealt with the AIDS epidemic and Christianity, and then one called Benjamin Thomas Worthington Resurrected. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was thrilled and intrigued by the racial divide. And I was curious and I wanted to know why was this beautiful city so racially divided? And I found out about the 1921 Tulsa race riots. And when I went to do my research, it was like somebody came in, snatched all the information away. They didn't want the world to know about the race riots. And so I got this wonderful opportunity to talk to one of the survivors from the race riot and get the true story. And so I put it in a play. And actually, the funny thing is, one of my BWIF sisters, Dolores Atkins, is actually going to do a 1-act play from my full-fledged play, Benjamin Thomas Worthington. She's going to do it, I think, right around April, May time frame. So I've just been having some fun. And then I have one other project that's near and dear to my heart. I'm in this Brilliant Women in Films group. And so we got to do a film, you know? And so I was brainstorming with my beautiful founder and leader, Joe Montreal. I was brainstorming with her. And so I told her about a concept. And she said, well, Miss Sharon, you got to write the book first. Well, baby, the book is done.
That is awesome. That is awesome, Miss Sharon. You know, listening to you, Miss Sharon, you are a storyteller. You are. Your voice, your aura, your presence, you know, and I really want to dig into that because, like Miss Monet was talking about it, and Miss Tanya was talking about it, eventually we're going to get to Mr. Jamar Bruce, is the portion that a lot of people often overlook, right? They see the sets, they see the stage, they see the lights, they see the cameras, they see the director, they see the producer, but they never really talk about who wrote the project. They never really talk about who wrote it. And without writers, we would be nothing as creatives. We would be nothing as directors and producers if we did not have the blueprint that you all put on the paper for us to follow and manifest this world that turns into a stage play or a film. So, Ms. Sharon, talk to us a little bit about when you sit down in front of the computer, or if you're old school with it and it's pen and paper or it's pencil and paper, when you sit down, what are some of the things that you can provide to any of the creatives that are playwrights or filmmakers or screenplay writers that are watching right now? What are some of the things you first jot down when you sit down to write a script?
First and foremost, my major concern as a playwright or writing a screenplay is this particular topic something that will be acceptable for such a time as this? Is my passion, does my passion line up with a world issue, a national issue, a community issue? Do I have something valid to say to the world, to the community about a particular issue? In the book that I told you about, The Untold Love Story, I'm dealing with women who have never known their fathers, or their fathers are there, but they're not there. And when I looked at the percentage of children who are in fatherless households, I understand now why women, unfortunately, we think we have to be on full display, shaking the hips. That's okay if you got them. All right. But we're missing that protection, that security, that love. So the first thing you need to do is, will I have an audience? You got to ask yourself, will I have an audience? And then you have to ask yourself, am I passionate enough about this topic to see it to the end? Because we all have great ideas, but the great idea needs to become something. It's as if you are literally birthing a new entity. So you need to ask yourself, are you willing to go through the 9 months of pain and preparation? And then that final big push. Are you willing to go through the pain of birthing this project? And for a writer, it's doing the research. It's making sure you have an audience. It's also making sure that you have the resources, not just the intellectual resources, but the emotional resources. Okay. I mentioned before passion, but also the skill, because there are some things that I've written, like I've been a nonfiction girl for a long time. I've written 27 books. And this book is my first fiction book. But believe you me, all of that experience compiled helped me writing the plays, writing the screenplays, the stuff that we learned from the writing room with BWIF has helped me to fine tune my craft to a point where I know if I sit down and write something, someone's going to hear it, someone's going to feel it, and it's going to make a difference in the world. So I personally, I love writers because when we pick up our pens with an intent, we can change the world. You look at Uncle Tom's Cabin. That was a major book that put eyes on slavery. People forget that the pen can change the world. All the propaganda that Adolf Hitler put in the world, somebody had to write it, okay? To put those films together that he had a whole world convinced that Jews were dirty and ugly and all that other kind of stuff. And we needed to eliminate them. So the moral of the story is if you have, the number one thing is passion. The skill will come because if you're called to write something, believe you me, you're going to get the skill that you need in order to do it. And the other thing I would say, don't be afraid to fail. If I had stopped after my first 2 plays, let me tell you, I would not be writing today. I had all kinds of stuff. Sound was messed up. Then I'm crazy, right? I had to get a 20-member cast. Didn't know what in the world I was doing. And I had white folks, Black folks, Hispanic folks, all kind of folks in this thing and mixing stuff up. And that's where I learned what my true skills were. When I sat down and I worked on this play with the folks, and it was funny because folks who had been in the theater for a while, guess what? This guy, he was amazing. This white guy, he looked at me, and we needed to change the script, and I did it on the spot, and he was like, "Nobody does that." Well, if I hadn't had that experience, I wouldn't know how crafty and how skilled I was. Why? Because guess what? People don't walk up to you and tell you you're a great writer. Matter of fact, in today's society, let me tell you, I'm just whispering, they're looking for the holes in your drawers. But let me be honest with you, we all have to start somewhere. And that's the passion that I bring to my writing projects.
Miss Sharon, you just said a word for for filmmakers, for playwrights, for screenwriters, for everyone in the industry. And one of the things I want to touch on that I always talk to filmmakers about and playwrights about, I always say write within your means, but not below your creativity, right? And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that when you write projects, that you're thinking about the things that it will take to make those projects come to life. For example, Miss Monet was talking earlier about she wanted the hospital and the doctor office and all of these things. And I think oftentimes writers will write the big scripts, right? But then they never think about, okay, once I'm done writing this, is this something that is gonna realistically within my arena make it to the big screen or make it to the small screen or make it to the web, right? And I always tell people, write with the purpose that somebody is going to see it. Don't just write it to leave it on the shelf at home. And oftentimes people will write things that are just so out of here and maybe unrealistic for it to come to manifestation, because again, they're the demon of comparison to other people and what they see other people doing, and their dreams kind of die with them. That vision never manifests beyond the paper. And so it really just becomes a dust collector. And so write with the purpose that somebody is going to see it. Meaning when I'm done with this book, when I'm done with this script or this play, a director like Monet or a playwright and a producer like Miss Tanya or Jamar can pick this up and say, you know what, I can do this. We can really do this. And so writing within your means, I think, is so important, Ms. Sharon. And I appreciate all the words of wisdom you just shared with everyone when you talked about knowing your audience. Who are you writing this for? Because as creatives, we oftentimes get in our own heads, but we have to remember we want somebody to be able to digest the material that we're producing into the world? And then what is your passion to see it through? Like Ms. Monet said, it was difficult during her journey. And Ms. Tanya talked about dealing with the children and their journeys and getting them prepared, because it's those moments where you're going to really find out, is this something that you have a gift for, or is this something you're putting on a facade to try to do? And that is what's going to separate a lot of people when they start getting into the making, right? The birthing stages, the growing stages of whatever it is they're trying to bring into the world, Ms. Sharon. So thank you so much. But one of the last things I want to touch on before I move forward, Ms. Sharon, that you talked about that I think is so important: do your research. As filmmakers, as playwrights, as creatives, do your research. Be a student of the game. Learn, never stop learning. This industry is constantly changing. And if you wanted somebody to pay attention to you, you got to know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And doing your research is so, so important, because in order for people, whether it be a crew on a set, whether it be a crew on a theater production, whether it be a publishing house for a book, if they don't feel that you understand what you're talking about, they're not going to follow you. They're not going to trust you or believe in the vision. And we're in an industry where we need everyone around us to buy into what we're trying to do. Not one person can do it all. And so you need to make sure you do your research. You are a student of the game. You understand the vision so that other people will be willing to follow you. So thank you, Ms. Sharon, for highlighting those tangibles for playwrights, for screenwriters, for authors. You are truly the literary housewife, and we're so grateful and love having you here, a part of BWIF. So thank you again, Ms. Sharon. Thank you so much for sharing your insight and your experience.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Absolutely. All right. That last but not least, that's my brother up in the corner, Mr. Jamar, Mr. Bumblebee himself up in the corner. Come on, Jamar, let's talk about it, man. It's good to see you. Jamar is an amazing film creative in this world. And again, we're happy that the ladies allowed us to come play with them in the sandbox. Thank you, Joan. Thank you to BWF and all the ladies who are live with us and watching with us to allow us to be a part of such an incredible platform. So, Jamar, No Escape. No Escape, which is one of this year's winners in the film festival. So let's give Jamar a round of applause for his incredible project being one of the winners in this year's film festival. So Jamar, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what inspired you to create No Escape.
Well, I do want to begin by first saying thank you, Joan, for having me. To the entire Brilliant Women in Film for having me on today. I've enjoyed hearing the rest of your stories as well. So I just want to take the time to thank you out. I'm happy to be here on today. So just a little bit about me. Again, my name is Jamar. I live currently here in Houston, Texas. I've been in film for over 10 years now. I attended KD Studio, which is Kim Dawson Studio, which is in Dallas, Texas, where I decided to pursue my film career to where I will begin to direct, write, and produce films. So that's kind of where I began that as far as making my films. The film that I did that LaMarcus is speaking about, which is No Escape, which is my latest film that I did do, was led to me years ago. Many times I wanted to give up, believe it or not, and felt like no one believed in me, but LaMarcus did. And I really appreciate him for doing that, reaching back out to me, connecting with me, as well as Brilliant Women in Film, connecting with me on this project as well. But like I said, No Escape, that came to me years ago when I was in Dallas, and I was a part of a domestic violence group, which was entitled All Women's Marching for Hope. So that's something that I've always wanted to be a part of as I growed up seeing a lot of domestic violence in my household. So I wanted to write that film to where I'd be able to make a difference in the world, to be able to change lives, to be able to encourage hopefully a woman or a man, because we all know that domestic violence doesn't just happen with men, it happened with women as well. So I just wanted to be a vessel to many people, to give them hope to get out of certain situations that they might be dealing with. Like I said, and that was my way of writing a film to hopefully that I can inspire someone to get out of a certain situation that they're dealing with. So that's a little bit where I got my inspiration as far as writing that film. Like I said, and without brilliant women in film, without people like LaMarcus, it wouldn't be possible today. So I really just want to take this time to appreciate and thank them for all that they done to help me throughout this journey as well.
Thank you, Jamar. We really appreciate that. And just a little tidbit about No Escape. No Escape was a film that Jamar had presented to me, which I thought was amazing. And we talked about it, and he said, "Okay, I'm gonna get the budget." Kind of talking about what Monet experienced, and Tanya with her, and as with you as well, Miss Sharon, and getting that budget together, getting the money together necessary. Because I remember Jamar wanted this film to be done right. He was very focused on, okay, LaMarcus, I don't want you to just do it just to do it. I want you to tell me what is it going to take for us to do it right. And it's amazing how just around this time, Joan was kind of in the rotation of BWIF, and it was an opportunity for Jamar to do exactly what he talked about when he mentioned our women march there, that they have the domestic violence group there in Dallas, Texas, because he wanted to highlight the empowerment of women, and more importantly, African American women, through his storytelling, through his filmmaking, but also behind the scenes. And so that's something that, you know, BWF was able to help us to do, is the entire crew, with the exception of Jamar, myself, and our DP, were all women. The entire set was ran by women in every department. And that is something that Jamar wanted to highlight. And I commend him for that and digging deep into that. But one of the things you talked about, Jamar, that I want to kind of unfold a little bit is the life experience that you drew from to make a film of this nature, because this is a very intense film. Sort of like Monet's is dealing with a very emotional and spiritual type of bondage. But this is a film that really touches base on mental, physical abuse, of course, but the mental and emotional and spiritual abuse that oftentimes women and men endure in relationships for a variety of different reasons, whether it be because they have a child that they need to provide for, whether it be financial dependency of their spouse, that they enable themselves to stay in these situations because they're thinking about someone other than themselves. So Jamar, kind of speaking to kind of the concept of today and the inspiration, talk to us a little bit about what that was like for you to dig deep in your life journey to put this on screen, because I could imagine that was not an easy thing for you to do, and having to relive those moments when you put pen to paper to create No Escape.
Well, I will say that it was a very emotional, and I'm going to start out by saying this, is because I wanted to make sure that if I wrote something that I would be sure to tell my side of the story. So I wasn't going to write anything and not tell my story as well. So that's when I began to want to be very transparent about myself as well. Even though I seen domestic violence growing up in my household, I began to carry it into my relationships. I'll be very, very transparent about that. And so that was something very emotional for me. But thank God that's something that I've overcame now. But as far as like looking back and seeing what I've grew up looking at, just seeing the different things that my mom went through, the different things that I had to go through as well, the things that I done to my girlfriend, it was very emotional to write, knowing that, you know, you hurt someone, or whether it was my dad hurting my mom or whether me hurting my girlfriend, knowing that you actually hurted them, and how that leads to all types of mental illness and different emotional things in their life as well. But as far as it being the writing process, it was very emotional. There's plenty of times that I actually cried when writing the script. So it was a very mental thing to me. Like I said, just living that experience back again, living it all over again.
Absolutely, Jamar, and thank you for being so open and so transparent about your experience. And that circles back to something Miss Sharon was talking about, being authentic, knowing what you're trying to convey to your audience. What's the purpose of the film? What are we trying to get to? What are we trying to say? But being connected, like Miss Sharon said, being willing to go through the pain to birth the project. And that is exactly what you were willing to do, because it required you to look in the mirror.
Mhm.
And I think that that's something that all creatives have to do from time to time. We have to look in the mirror, and understand who we are as people before we can try to tell the stories of others. And I think I commend you, Jamar, for having the ability to find that strength within yourself to face your own demons in creating this project. And so, walk us through, Jamar, as you came up with this idea, you put pen to paper, you went through the emotional battle. What was it like for you getting the funding for this project? How did you go about raising the money to shoot No Escape?
Well, I will say funding, that's one of the hardest things that I feel like in filmmaking, but I did not let that deter me. I made up my mind that this is something that I wanted to do. This something, a story that needs to be told. So I wanted to make sure that whatever it took, that I did what I needed to do to make sure that I was able to get the film made. So I just did simple things from saving from my paycheck. Again, thanks to my lovely wife. She supported me through the whole process of helping me as well as funding through the film. So I really pretty much, between me and my wife, we pretty much did the funding process. Like I said, I'm kind of like Monet. I'm one that really doesn't like to ask for money as well. That's something I just got to let go, because I know that it takes money to make films. But as far as the funding, that's something that me and my wife had did.
That's incredible, and I think that speaks to a lot of things that a lot of filmmakers and even playwrights and theater producers experience, a lack of funding, right? But you all were willing to, again, going back to Monet, Miss Tanya, Miss Sharon's topics, be disciplined enough to see the vision through. And you all were disciplined enough. And I remember we talked about it and we had that conversation, and you said, I'm gonna go get this money and we're gonna make this film. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And the discipline that it took to get the funding necessary to do this film. So I just wanted to speak to that and highlight that for anyone that's watching, that it's not every day you just can walk up to someone and say, hey, give me 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, $100 million to go make a film that, hey, by the way, I cannot guarantee you're going to get your money back. So, just take it as a loss. That's a very hard conversation to have with someone. And I think a lot of people underestimate the struggles for filmmakers and people who do theater productions. Funding is so hard to come by. And that's why it takes the discipline, like you showed Jamar and Monet and Miss Tanya and Miss Sharon, the discipline in your craft for the love to actually see it through and make those necessary sacrifices to birth your babies, to come to the big screen, small screen, or the stage. So, Jamar, as you saw No Escape during the filming process, what are some of the things for you, being the writer of that production and the producer of it? What are some of the things that you experienced during the making of that psychologically, as you saw your life's passion and work come to life? What are some of the things that you went through during that time? Were there things that you were like, this is really hard for me to watch? Or were there times where you struggled with maybe some of the directions we were going in from a director side? Were there moments where you're like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. This is really happening. How do I navigate the struggles of watching this play out? And it's not all in my hands. What was that like for you?
Well, it was emotional at times seeing some of the, and you all will see during the film festival. There's a scene, a kitchen scene with Angel and Sean, which was very emotional to me because it brought back a lot of memories, and a lot of the dialogue that was spoken is things that I've heard in my household growing up. So as far as that, that was something very emotional as to me having to relive that again. But as far as other things being difficult on set, I will say that Brilliant Women in Film and yourself, Lamarcus, you made everything seem so much easier with you being the director and then Joan being a producer as well. Things were so much easier. You made everything feel at ease. So as far as the anything that was difficult, I didn't find anything that was being difficult at that moment. Like I said, you did what you need to do to make sure that things ran smoothly. It was just mostly an emotional roller coaster to me, having to relive everything again, and at the same time seeing the excitement of my words coming to life with wonderful actors, like I said, who've done a tremendous job. So I definitely like to continue to applaud them as well. But just seeing my words come to life, knowing that there's someone else that's actually going through certain situations, such as situations that was happening throughout the short film, and that hopefully it can change someone to open their eyes to want to get out of those certain situations.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jamar. And I know it may have seemed like we were all together, but like Monet said, it was a hurricane in my head, because that's something as creatives, as directors and producers that I just want to speak to, that we have to be honest and vulnerable when we are bringing to life someone's words or someone's story. Because writers, as you can see from Miss Sharon and Miss Monet and Miss Tanya and yourself, Jamar, those have deep meaning and connection to something inside of you. And I think it's so important that as producers and directors, we're honest, we're transparent, and we're free. We eliminate anxiety, we eliminate fear, so that we can truly operate in a space of manifestation of your vision in the right way for it to come to life. So I commend you for those kind words, but it was definitely a tall task, as Miss Monet articulated with producing her film, to make sure everything goes well, that needs to go well, so that we can be successful in the end and have a great product. So Jamar, No Escape, where can we see it? Where can we find it? When is it coming out? What do you have going on with it right now?
Well, of course, I'm still trying to submit to various film festivals. It'll also be showing in New Orleans at the Brilliant Women in Film Festival, so you can definitely see it there. So I have it unlisted right now on server like YouTube and then Vimeo, currently unlisted until they actually get through running through the film festival circuit. But as far as information, if you need any information or want to see the latest updates, of course, we have a Facebook page, No Escape the Movie. Feel free to always visit that page for any updates that we might have as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamar. Let's make sure we check that out and we support the film No Escape and all of its different festivals that it's going to be submitted to. And Jamar, one more thing. What would you like to tell young men and young women that are experiencing emotional, mental, and physical abuse, whether it be from the hands of their parents, girlfriends, husbands? What would you like for them to know about themselves? And then also, what would you like to tell them about the other side once you overcome it?
Well, first, I like to tell them that, and that's man or woman, that your life matters. So, in no man, no woman deserves to be hit. It shouldn't be that way. If you're going through that, I urge you to get out. Like I said, that's something I continuously and constantly seen my mom go through. My dad say that, I won't do it again. But as they say, when a person show you who they are, believe them. So I just encourage any woman, any man to get out of that relationship. And even if you're a parent and you know that you're being abused by your husband and you have kids, get out of that relationship, because that affects the child as well. And you never know what that does mentally to that child. Just yesterday, I was looking and reading about a recent domestic violence where a lady shot her husband on Facebook Live. So that's something that's constantly still that's going on, and that's a story that I continue to talk about as far as domestic violence, bringing awareness to domestic violence. But my words is that if you in that situation, to get the help that you need to get out of that situation, And my thing is, everybody knows someone who has been affected by domestic violence. Everybody knows someone. And so just get the help that you need, whether you're the perpetrator, whether you're the victim, get the help. And so that's my encouragement. That's my words to anyone who's going through that situation, because you never know what it can end to. And I actually know people personally where they actually lost their life behind certain situations, such as domestic violence, which should never be anything that anyone should lose their life to.
Absolutely. Well said, Jamar. Well said. And just to leave it on a positive note, Jamar, tell us about what it's been like once you overcome that trauma, that pain, or those demons. What does it look like on the other side when the sun is shining?
I tell you what, I feel much better now. I look back a lot now of who I was versus who I am now. And I'm so proud of myself. And I constantly hear it from my wife reminding me of, because she know about my past, but my wife reminded me, my mom reminded me of how far I came. So it feels good. And I realized that I wouldn't be who I am today if I wouldn't reached out and got that help that I needed when I knew that I had a certain problem and situation that I was dealing with. And so again, that goes back to, if you know that you're dealing with something, whether you're the perpetrator or the victim. Me as the perpetrator, I reached out to get the help, the necessary help that I needed, so that I can better myself, so that I can be the father that I need to be to my kids, so that they can know and work, or what my daughter know what to look in as far as a man, or what my son know what to look at as far as a woman. So that's my number one thing, is I just encourage everyone to get help. I've been very happy of who I am today and very glad of who I've become. Like I said, I came a long way of who I was.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jamar. I appreciate that. And I just want to take the opportunity as we land the plane here on our 4th annual BWAF panel discussion to acknowledge Jamar, Tanya, Monet, and Ms. Sharon for contributing their wisdom, their knowledge, and experience, talking about their projects, giving little tidbits to those who are watching. And I encourage all of you to listen to everything they said, because it will affect you in this journey of creativity. It doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum, how successful you are, if you're starting out or you're right in the middle. All of the wisdom and knowledge that you have gathered today will be beneficial to you, not just in the filmmaking world or the theater world, but just in life in general. And will allow you to tell more authentic, more relatable stories that you want to produce and direct or create for the world to see. And our job as creatives, I always say this to everyone, our main job is to evoke emotion. If we do not evoke emotion in the work that we are doing, we have failed. I don't care if it makes someone laugh, cry, get angry, upset, or bothered. They need to feel something. It doesn't have to be the greatest cameras in the world. It's all about the story and how you make people feel. And it's important as creatives to invoke emotion. And I feel that each one of you, in your own way, in your own lanes, are evoking emotion and creating thought and forcing people to leave set or the production and think about their lives. How can they be better? How can they transform their environments to be at peace and happiness at home and in their day-to-day lives at work and things of that nature? It's our job to evoke emotion, which ultimately leads to self-reflection, which ultimately leads to change. And with that being said, I will turn this over to Joan to land this plane. Thank you all for having me. I've enjoyed talking to all of you, and thank you to everyone for watching as well.
Yay! Well, guys, this concludes our 4th annual film festival panel discussion. We want to thank every last one of you guys for being here at LaMarcus. As always, thank you for bringing it hard. We got so much wisdom from you guys today. We were supposed to have maybe 10 people on here, and just the 4 of you got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have actually turned the whole thing around. So it was very intimate. It was very knowledgeable. And we thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for being a creative. Thank you for actually changing society, because we have a gift to change society, and you guys are doing that. So we'll see you guys at the 4th Film Festival annual. I know Jamar will be there. Monet, we know we have the right to show your film, right? Because I know you say you're shipping it.
Yes,
you're
of course. Yeah.
all right, so we would definitely get a chance to see Monet film. It's awesome, guys. It was shot very well. It was really good. And Sharon will be out there in New Orleans and Tanya. And so thank you guys for joining us. If you want us to help you with anything or be of service to you, please go to our website, brilliantwomeninfilm.com, and let us know. We love you guys. Stay blessed and stay safe and keep creating. Okay? All right. Bye, guys. You can see this replay on our YouTube channel, Brilliant Women in Film, if you like. It's on there now. Okay? All right, guys. Love you. See you guys later. Bye-bye, creatives. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Okay, guys. Hold on. Let's see. Let's end it.